Hello, my name is Drew and I'm the Aspiring Master, and welcome to the Aspiring Master Presents. This is a show where we talk about the meanings, misunderstandings, and insights about the important words that we use and misuse on a daily basis. Really understanding what we're truly meaning when we talk allows us to convey and explain ourselves better to others. This not only allows us clearer communication so that we can get what we need quicker and with less stress, but also helps us understand ourselves in more depth than we thought possible. Today on our show, we have our special guest, Therese Wilson, who, like myself, is a practitioner, instructor, and advocate for personal growth and cooperative awareness. Today, we're talking about the word caring and all its different connotations and meanings. Let's get to it. Okay, so today we're talking about caring. So let's do what I usually do when I do this, is go to a dictionary. Yeah. Well, what we want to know what the dictionary has to say about this word, and it is actually quite interesting. There is a number of definitions for this word, care.
We're gonna number of definitions of this word,
and hilariously enough, these wonderful definitions. The first definition of this is suffering of mind or grief. The second definition is a disquieted state of mixed uncertainty, apprehension, and responsibility. So our third definition of this is painstaking or watchful attention. And the fourth, which is more relevant to our conversation, but they're all kind of relevant actually, the fourth is regard, coming from desire or esteem, which is what we use care for mostly.
Most often, yeah.
Yeah. So seeing that, knowing those wonderful definitions, can you understand why we're a little confused about this word? Right?
Yeah, because I'm not quite understanding all that. Well, actually, I guess I do if I think about it, but.
Well, if you care about something, and what I think characteristic of caring is anxiety and worry, is what I see most with caring, right?
Yeah, as in the opposite of is I don't give a care.
I don't care.
World,
I don't have a care in the world.
Yeah.
So when like, I mean, just that statement, like, I mean, I don't have a care in the world. And when you say I don't have a care in the world, I'm free from worry is what it actually means when you think about it.
Yeah, my first thought when you said that this was going to be our topic was about, the empathy, the sympathy, the reaching out and all that kind of stuff. But you're right. The absence of worry, the absence of it's taking care of someone, something in a different way.
Well,
yeah.
and because
they have cares.
Right.
Well, taking care away.
The fifth definition of this is charge or supervision. So taking care of is what you're talking about, and this is why it's so important to talk about.
I'm talking about caring and taking the care away from someone.
Right.
So taking the pain, helping to reduce the pain or the burden from their lives. Yeah.
Well, and like I said, this is such a weird word.
That's way much more broad and way much more a part of our lives because of the variety of definitions than I ever thought about. Yeah.
Well, and the truth is we don't really consciously think about how we're using this. I mean, I know that there's a lot of people out there that just the big one for kids. Well, actually, for everybody. Talia, my wife, has come at me with. Well, you don't care, right? And when you stop and think about what that statement means, what does that statement mean, right? Does it mean that I don't care? Obviously, I do have esteem and regard for you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be interested in what's going on right now, right? So obviously, on a level of esteem and regard, yes, I do care. If you're saying I don't care because I'm not giving you something that you think that you need, I'm not caring for you, I can understand that. But what I find that it means the most when somebody says something like that is you're not worried or have anxiety about what's going on with me, which means that,
Which means you're not going to help.
well, and it translates down. If we go down to the root of that is, well, you don't love me,
It's
right?
always about love, isn't it?
Right? Well, I mean, and I mean, I'm sure that that's not what Talia's meaning at that moment, and nor do I think that she's even thinking about what she's meaning when she's saying that.
No, but I can see that a lot of the times. Yeah, you don't care. You don't love me enough to care.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
Or
to
to do
worry, or
something
to,
about it, or to
yeah,
help,
or yeah, or to help, or yeah,
or to get mad with me or
yeah.
for me.
Uh,
Yeah.
well, I mean, it's like now, I I have understood the word care in those ways for a long time. So I look at it and I said, okay, I do care about you, right? So when I say I care about you, what does that mean, right? That means that I have concern for your welfare, basically, for me, right? So if I say, I care about you, right? I can say I care for you. Well, if I'm getting you a drink of water, right? If I'm going and grabbing you a drink of water, now I'm caring for you, right? I'm giving you the product of caring.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Where was I?
My
Oh,
bad.
we were talking about care about, care for.
Yeah.
Well, and coming from the space of what Talia actually really means is that I'm not.
How about
I'm.
present enough with her?
It's not even that. I'm trying to describe the feeling of
You
it.
should be feeling exactly the same thing I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, exactly. And why are you not supporting me in my feeling? Whether that means going and getting me a glass of water or, but I think that it's about emotional engagement.
Yeah.
It's when I am not where they are. You're not feeling exactly the same thing as me. I think that you're correct on that. Because I'm not identifying, not sympathizing,
Not
is what
mirroring.
I'm not sympathizing, I think, is what it is.
Yeah.
Because I can empathize without being there, right? But to sympathize, you have to be there with them in that emotion. So I think that you're right when we say that it's you're not feeling what I'm feeling. You're not identifying with what I need you to identify with. Because there's those times where I'm just unconcerned. I'm not sitting here in worry. I'm not sitting here in anger or anything like that while I'm listening. And it's that engagement of, well, you should be feeling like I'm feeling right now because that you just don't care. I said, well, no. I'm just not concerned about it like you are. That's all.
And if we're going to be real honest, sometimes we don't care because we think you're wrong,
Right.
and we don't want to say anything. Oh, I'm just going to sit back here and let you have it because I'm not understanding or agreeing with any of this. But I know you are having a moment, but I'm staying out of the line of fire.
Well, and maybe care is misconstrued as agreement, right? And like you brought,
Asking for agreement, yes.
right. It may be that we're looking for agreement of what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, you don't care, you know.
We want someone to be on our side, yes.
Right.
Always.
But care is what, strictly speaking, whether it's worry or whether it's care for, is not really an emotion that we need to, like, I mean, it doesn't need to happen, but we use it in such a way that, like, I mean, I like feeling cared for. So when I say that statement, it's like, I like feeling cared for. I like feeling somebody thinks that I matter, right? But what do we have that's connected to that? Right? What is that? What is that emotion that we need that?
Well, there you go, right there. Need, of course,
Yeah.
and the ones we've spoken of, fear, and fear is we have the lack of something in this situation. Um, and of course, bottom line, we're looking for someone, something outside of ourselves to love us.
Hmm.
You know, love somehow always boils down to we have to find it in rather than from the outside. When we get it from the outside, that's a validation and it's wonderful and it's warm, but it is secondary to self-love.
Right. Well, and I think that that's the core issue about caring is that we really want to feel loved, which is accepted, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we've hijacked the word care, and we're meaning that it's love, right? Oh, you don't love me.
Yeah,
That would be a better statement.
yeah, it's a substitute for the word love sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Or
not.
maybe or maybe an easier way, you know, if I say I care for you, it's an easier way of expressing my emotions than just bluntly saying I love you, because if you don't reciprocate, most people
Mhm.
think, of course, we're thinking too many people go to romantic love instead of just
Right.
pure human to human love. um, if I say I love you, there's a high risk of being rejected
Hmm.
or feeling rejected anyway. But if I say I care for you, it's a safe entree.
Hmm. Huh. Well, I agree. I think that we use the word care in place of love a lot of the time because it's softer.
It's
We
love.
doesn't have the emotional impact,
It's
right?
yeah, doesn't have the 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 loaded subtext that love does.
Hmm.
It's there if you want it to be. If the other person does actually love you, they'll read the subtext and maybe move a little bit more towards you. But um, care is safe. Of course, we're going to a different definition of it,
Hmm.
but care is safe
Well, we're talking about regard
in all of them.
or esteem, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that's that definition that I think that we use care to sort of mean most. And I
Yeah.
think that the deeper level is we're looking for being acceptable and accepted, or we're looking
Yeah.
to be loved,
Care is
right?
love light.
Yeah. Um, Now I know that there are times when I say I don't care, right? Now I know that there are times when I say I don't care that I absolutely do because I said it, right? Right? Generally, when I'm saying "Well, I don't care, right? Especially in that way, I absolutely do have concern there, and I think that we misdefine care, and we should talk about care as concern, right? So when you're concerned about something, you have worry, you have all of those other sort
There
of.
are certainly times when I am angry or that person, I don't care. I don't. It is very loaded in that context,
Yeah.
because that's also because it's love light,
Hmm.
and you really do mean I don't care.
Hmm.
Then that person feels it in a very different way than they thought they would a lot of times, because it's really saying I don't love you. You're not lovable.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I like that you said love light, which is care is love light, and I I like just like frustration is anger light, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
that's,
so that's
correct.
I love that. I guess it's when we're defining these words and when we're defining something like care, it is really a sub-level of love. It's like you said, it's sort of a softball way of just kind of tossing it in there.
Mhm.
Um, and What's hilarious about that is I've always understood that, but when you put it into that kind of context, when you put it into that kind of those words, I just go, oh yeah, that's what I meant. Right.
And it just came to me. What can I say?
Yeah. After all the years of learning. Um, well, and I mean, I don't care is definitely a loaded. And there are times when I can truly say that I don't have any concern, right? I mean, when somebody, I've had like Talia, like I said before, Talia said, "Well, you don't care," and I said, "Well, no, I'm not concerned about it at all, right?" And so I'm not connected to that concern or worry that you want me to share, right? And I think that we use, like, just going to words in general, we use words to get people to pull them into what we're experiencing,
Yeah.
right? And if
And
I don't,
we want people to be in agreement with us.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and to really, I think that we're looking to be understood.
Yeah.
Like uh, there are times when Talia will be going through something that I will have no understanding of because I have no experience to the emotional attachment that's going on for her. Right? You know what I'm saying? It's so in a real sense, because I don't have that emotional attachment to the type of emotional attachment that she's going through, right? I, on a literal sense, am not worried about it, so I don't care.
Uh, and I get that. Then, and if that really is the case in those circumstances, perhaps you need to hear what I think she might be saying.
Hmm.
And that isn't that you care about what she's upset about. You care that she is upset.
Hmm.
Period.
Well, and the truth is,
And don't even try to understand it unless she tries to explain it to you. But then just say, "How can I help you?" Period.
well,
Done. You're out of the woods.
now here's which is really really good advice. Now here's the thing that comes out of this, and it all depends on where she's at. But there's a lot of times that I said, I I don't understand, but I'm here for you, right? I don't care about the thing. I care about you, right?
And
And
you know
there's a
what?
different.
Yeah, and you know what? You ruined it by explaining all that.
Yeah, I know,
As
right?
a woman, don't. I'm sorry. It might sound stereotypical, but I think even as a man, don't explain it all. Just simple. I'm here for you.
Oh, I no, I agree. I'm explaining it.
I don't understand. I'm here for you.
Yes, I agree, and even with that, right? And I'm explaining it to the audience because this is the process that I go through in my
Okay.
mind, right? It's not me sitting there. Well, I'm doing explaining those things
Okay, just
because
making sure then.
yeah, I'm not getting into that kind of trouble. Although I have from time to time. Okay,
Knowing you, Drew, you have
absolutely.
overexplained on more than one occasion in your
I
time.
have definitely oversplained everything, but um, but in the sense of because I am incapable or I cannot um, get to that emotional state that she's looking for in me, even if I say, "I'm not sure what's going on, hun. Is there something I can do? Can I help you?" What like all of those. None of those questions are relevant to that situation. Now, it depends on what kind of form of violence. Sometimes she goes, I hear you. Um, but if she's deeply in needing me to be in that emotion with her,
Being with her, yeah.
yeah. And I mean, it's again, this is when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about my perceptions of it. This is, I can't say exactly what's going on. And although Talia and I have talked a number of times about it, and so I've got a sense of it. I can't say what it is for her, and each individual has something that is a personal experience. What you and I are really talking about is take a look inside of what's going on in you, right? To see what that is. Maybe you can identify with some of the things that we're saying.
I
But
know I can identify with some of these things.
Right. Well, and we're trying to articulate our experiences.
Yeah, we're trying to articulate things that we don't usually articulate.
Yeah.
Not even to ourselves sometimes, unfortunately. You know, if we were to ever get in the habit of when, even if we can't do it in the moment, but if, lay down at night and start thinking about your day and go, okay, from a step away from it now, why did I react that way?
Mm-hmm.
What was I really feeling? What was really at the root of it? Why was I so angry over something that seemingly so small? If we were to ever get to the point where we could really just think about it, and I'm not even talking analyze it, just be honest with ourselves in the quiet moment afterwards, or catch ourselves during, then I think those circumstances would not trigger as much, or not even seem to arise as much, because we simply, they wouldn't be relevant anymore. We wouldn't get so triggered. It wouldn't matter. Yeah.
Right.
I find myself lately more than ever, when I do lay down at night, I I, I stop and think, okay, you were in XYZ situation, you were pretty cool, you were did well, how were you really feeling? Are you lying to yourself, saying that you were okay with what was happening? I'm finding myself actually doing that kind of self examination at the end of the day, more and more.
Yeah.
And it really does help the next day, and or the next time a situation arises, because I'm pretty honest with
You've
myself
already,
about how I'm feeling.
yeah, you've already thought about it, and so you can go back and you go, oh yeah, right, that was the
Yeah,
conclusion I came.
and that's where I blew it. That's where I, that's where, in fact, a lot of times that's the moment I lied to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, about how I was feeling. I buried it, or I didn't bury it, and I should.
Well,
We talk about communication all the time.
right,
We forget we have to communicate with ourselves.
selves.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know whether I told you this story. There's a couple that come to mind in regards to caring, because Talia said to me, like time and time again, well, you don't care, right? I mean, she wants me in a certain emotional state or emotional connectivity that I'm not in at the time, and I totally get that. But I come back to her and I said, I obviously do, because I'm here, right? I'm
Yeah.
here with you, and that's
And,
not really what you're asking, if I
well,
care or not.
and I think, in a situation you're describing, of course, it's very superficial description, but that's also a little bit of the guilt card being played.
Hmm.
You don't care.
Yeah. Well,
You
yeah.
feel guilty and horrible for nothing.
Yeah. You should feel guilty and horrible, and I want you to feel as I'm feeling. I mean, it's sort of like that attraction to, if I'm angry, I want you to be angry.
Yeah.
Now I have to say that in this, as a confession, I understand the desire to. I think that Don Miguel Ruiz, who did the Four Agreements, the book The Four Agreements, he talks about emotional poison and how we like to infect other people with it so that we feel better. So I like his definition of how that works, because certainly I see it every day, how a bad mood will try and get somebody else in a bad mood. Now, I remember watching this when my grandmother died. I went down to her place in southern Alberta to clean things up, help my grandfather who had had a stroke. And so I was down there and we were packing up the house. I had my uncle there, and a really good friend of mine, Gail, who I used to date, was down there with us. And she was at the table, and we were eating at a friend's place, a friend of my grandparents' place, and during supper, Gail started attacking me, right? Like verbally, just calling me down, doing a whole bunch of stuff. Now, I was in such an emotional space at that time that I saw it and I just went, I got to ask her what's going on with that, right? I didn't take it personally at all at that moment. And so later on, before we went to sleep, I sat and was talking with her. And when I talked to her, I said, listen, I noticed this at the dinner table. I noticed you, really calling me down and being, degrading to my person and just little things like little digs, little knives. And I said, what's going on? What was going on? And she says, well, she said, you were telling me what to do all day, right? And I'm like, I was telling you what to do all day. And I said, I'm in a mode to try and get things done efficiently. So I'm, doing that. I said,
and your grandfather and your grandmother and,
yeah. Well, and it wasn't about that for me. It was just like, oh, I totally get why you're upset. Right.
Yeah.
And I explained to her, I said, I'm in a mode, I just lost my grandmother. Everybody, this all needs to be done efficiently, and I'm really trying to overcompensate. And I said, listen, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I was not what I meant to say. What I meant to say is thank you for being here. Right. And with that, it completely evaporated everything, that understanding in her, evaporated that anger.
What you did was pretty much what Neil Donald Walsh says. We should, if we can't ask it out loud, ask in our head in that kind of a situation. What hurts you so bad you think hurting me will heal it? What you experienced was that, maybe writ smaller than some, because it's writ large and writ small, but that's exactly what it was. You and your behavior helped her release her issue, her pain as well.
While not taking on her issue, right?
I'm not taking on her
nor taking it personally. Like I just recognized that there was now, and I'm not patting myself on the back because there's lots, like hundreds and thousands of situations where I've done the exact opposite, where I've taken offense and done that. So like, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but the point of that whole story was the fact that we are continually trying to infect other people with our upset, our anger. We're shoving that blame on, and this comes back to the I don't care statement that we were talking about, right? It's like, well, I don't care, or you don't care, whatever. I'm trying to get you to into a fight, right? Because I want to fight you now. Well, you don't care. Well, and I've certainly been caught in that lure of, what do you mean I don't care? What the hell do you think I'm doing here? Blah, 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 right? That all of a sudden I'm jabbed and attacked in my ability to love you. You don't love me. I do too.
The statement, and that's why I say it's pushing the guilt buttons too, because it's we do strange things to ourselves sometimes, or to one another.
We get confused and we use care as a bunch of different words, and I think care gets used as love, right? When you don't care about me, which translates quite literally to you don't love me. But again, what is your definition of love and what is your definition of care there? And that's the thing, is we're using these words without consciously understanding what we even mean by them. Now, regard, attention, or consideration coming from desire or esteem, you're still running into my desire of you and how I think you are, of what if you fit what I would think that is correct. Now here's another story, another scenario. So do you have another one? Go ahead.
No, I'm just anxiously awaiting your
Okay. And now I don't know whether I told you this one. There was a lady that I know, and I'm not going to disclose her name, but a lady that I know that was having some issues with her spouse because she really had wanted to understand, right? Like, I mean, and here's where I'm talking from a similar place of misunderstanding with Talia and I, where she says you don't care, right? Because she's looking for an emotional engagement, like you were saying, right? You don't care because you're not emotionally engaged with me where I want you to be. Now, obviously, I do care, but I'm not where she would like me to be. So we use that. Well, and she was talking about her spouse and saying, I don't understand what he wants from me because I know he wants something, but I don't understand what he wants. And so we had the conversation and I chatted with her and I said, well, listen, what you need to do is acknowledge that you do care somehow, right? But you don't know exactly what's going on and you need him to tell you. But he's looking for an emotional response in you that in your character you don't have at that moment. And I told her, I said, listen, be you, because she's a very gruff lady. She's wonderful, wonderful soft heart and a very gruff lady. I said, you have to grab him by his lapels. And I said, grab him like this and shake him and said, I know you want something from me and I don't know what it is and I don't know how to give it to you. I really want to give it to you. Right? Then what you've done is you say, yes, I actually want to be there, but I'm not really capable of it and I don't know what it is. Right? You're letting him know that you want to be there with him. And I said, I think that's the most important part of this. Right?
Yeah.
Right? And and luckily she called, or I heard through somebody else, she said, yeah, it worked. It worked great.
And I have a little story.
Mhm.
When, when we lived in Denmark, there was of course, for me, I think on some level it was a cultural misunderstanding. There was what you got, an immigrant living in Copenhagen and who worked at the dry cleaner.
Mhm.
And I had everything within walking distance, and I picked up a bunch of dry cleaning, and it was a lot. And the younger than me anyway, young man offered to carry it home for me. Fine, thank you. And he carried it home, and I had, walked down the hallway in the apartment and had him hang it in the closet. And as we're walking back, he reaches over and grabs my breast. And I just went, no, that's not happening. I think culturally, the older, wealthier woman asking the young man home was probably an invitation.
Right.
But I was very naive. But when I told my husband, it was, well, okay. And I was very definitely in that mode. Why aren't you mad? Why
Right.
don't you care? And it took me, because I was in an emotional place, a long time to understand that what my husband was telling me was, I don't care because A, nothing happened, but B, and more primarily, I trust you.
Of course. Yeah.
So that I fully understand the wanting to suck the other person into my anger and my little world there. So I get what you're saying.
Well, I mean, I guess it comes down to, on some levels, misery loves company, and that old cliche is absolutely true. We want somebody to be miserable. Now, speaking of Gail, like that story that I told you around her, when we were first going out, I think I was like 17. When we were going out, I called a halt to it because I saw the pattern of what was happening. She and we talked a great deal about it. I said, listen, this isn't going to work. One, because you are happy when I'm upset, right? If I upset you for some reason, if you get me upset, you get happier. I said, I've noticed the trend. And I said, it's not going to work. This isn't going to happen for us. You know, it was never a question of love with her. It was a question of not being compatible.
Well, you know, that dynamic actually says something else too.
Mm,
And constantly pulling someone into your unhappiness is also very much a way of controlling them.
right.
Uh, and-
Well, and we talked about it, and I told her even at the time. I said, "Listen, this isn't your thing. I watched your parents do it, right? I
Mm,
watch your parents behave this way, and it's not like there's no fault to it. It's just I can't do that.
no.
I'm not going to play now." And in a massive confession, it's unfortunately my first wife ran into that with me because she definitely wanted to pull me in to that. And it's like we use that statement of you don't care, which is like I said, I think that we use that as a weapon.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's the guilt thing. That's the control. That's
yeah,
the, you know, that's the keeping the other person off balance so that you can, you know, insinuate your own needs into the situation more heavily. And
I agree, and I want to stop us there so that I say this is not a judgment about that,
no, no,
right? This
these are patterns that are totally subconscious. These are patterns that, again, if we were to be honest with ourselves and take an honest look at our lives and our motivations and, you know, what created this, and that's how people do change.
right.
But, uh, you know, how many of us have known people from families that are dysfunctional, and one of the children goes straight down that dysfunctional rabbit hole, and the other one at some point of their life goes, wow, that was really effed up, and I am not going to repeat that. And they don't, they find a way to, you know, generally not perfectly so, but they find a way to break out of that generational habit of abuse, whether it be mental or physical.
Mhm.
Uh, so it's doable.
Right.
You
And
know,
and like I said, this isn't a show about judging the fact
no,
that we're doing
it's
those
not
things
right
because
or
we
wrong.
all do them.
This is just what is. These are the things that all we have to do is look around the world and see these things are happening.
And I think that on an introspective level, I would ask any of the audience members, I said, just take a look at these things. And if you feel triggered by these things, then you should probably look there. And it's not, I don't have any disagreement. This is what we do. This is how I've experienced the word care and caring in my life. I've seen people utilize these things for those ends, even though they don't understand that they're doing it. Like the reason that I brought up Gail specifically and talking to her when we were younger and telling her what I saw. And I mean, that was a big realization for me, certainly at the time. Being 17 or 18 years old, uh, it was a big revelation of, whoa, wait a minute. Now I understand why this isn't working, right? Um, because I see this pattern that we've been doing for the past year or so. Um, and it was totally unconscious on her level. I don't sit here and blame her at all for it. I don't even blame her parents. Like they were just as ignorant as the rest of us, right?
Yeah,
Um, this is about I recognized it. I understood it. I didn't judge Gail for it. I still love this person.
yeah.
It,
Noticing is not judgment. Yeah.
no,
Like I said, look
it,
around and see. It's hard not to notice some of these things.
well, if you are aware, right? The moment that you gain awareness, you can actually. It's sort of like what you were saying earlier about me going right.
Right.
Okay, my non sequitur. You said you say this often, and but that's just because I don't notice it. I'm subconsciously just doing that because
Yeah, it's the same thing as
yeah,
or what is it that the kids say? Um, oh
whatever.
no,
That's another one.
I'll get to it.
Yeah.
I'll come back. But it's something I know that I have said in another program, but it bears repeating in this context of what you're talking about, the clarification. Um, I had my teacher slash guru point out to me, I'm not going to tell the whole story,
Mhm.
but exactly what you're saying. If the mention of something makes you is inordinately triggered, especially if you're saying, no, that's not me, that's not right. If no, 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 there's probably a big yes in there somewhere.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, and in personal growth experience, in my personal growth experience with myself as well as the people around me, it is really that. If I feel triggered, and we talked about this in the anger episode,
Yeah.
um, when you feel triggered, like angry and stuff like that, that's usually a flag. It's a flag of I need to work here,
Yeah,
right?
and might not even be a flag that you need to work here so much as you need to notice your response to other people who need to work, you
Right.
know. And that response is, um, it might not be that you are the one who needs to work on this particular issue, but it might be that you need to be the one who stops judging so deeply that other person with that issue. You know, there's something there that you need to look at.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when I look back and I talk about, say, the first marriage that I had, which was a testing ground for both my former wife and I, uh, and I wanted to say that I'm totally guilty of understanding that my former wife wanted me to be in that emotional response with her, so she would goad me to become angry. And that she felt that because I didn't go there, that I was an abnormal human being on some levels. Uh, I have to say that, and guiltily, that I understood it and I didn't go there on purpose a lot of the times because I knew that's what she wanted.
Yeah.
Um, and and also that I didn't meet her in a place that she could communicate better with me, right? And so in that, on the level of that marriage, and I'm not talking about fault or anything, but I know why it failed, and I know that we couldn't meet in that place because neither of us was willing to go there.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're not willing to go beyond it, beneath the anger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was just
Because of course beneath the anger is the hurt
right.
and the I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't care.
Or you don't care, or
You know, and getting back to that whole idea of caring and not caring, I think that we have to really take a look at what we mean when we say that. That
yeah, yeah.
you know,
And that version of care.
yeah.
I like the, what was that, third or fourth version down.
Let's see. Hold on, we're
the,
going to go
the, the
back.
one the one caring for others.
Uh, well,
And
charge or supervision, regard coming from desire or esteem.
that's kind of it, yeah, because
Well, I mean, I think this is that one there is what we mostly
yeah, because I'm
think of care,
enjoying that. I'm enjoying that one right now.
right? Nice.
I am, I've had some issues going on, and uh, I've, with my husband in particular, caring, when it's caring for others, really does give you an opportunity to demonstrate who you are,
Hmm.
and he is demonstrating that. He even cuts my hair now.
Nice.
Look at that, not bad, and he's in the other room because this is getting close to dinner time here.
Right.
He's making dinner. He's learned how to how I like to cut the veggies up and how I like to do in sesame oil and stuff.
Hmm.
So I like the softer version of care right now.
Well, and I mean, I think that feeling cared for
Yeah,
is a good thing. I mean,
yeah,
it's. I mean, when I go back to, I grew up with an absentee bunch of parents, right? So my dad was never around. When I had a stepdad, he was barely ever around, and my mom worked all the time. So there was nobody there. There was just me and my sister, and you can imagine the fights. But
Yeah, I remember my oldest brother and he put his hand through the glass
yeah,
and cut his hand open one time because I locked him out.
yeah,
Yeah, I was the one in charge. Darn it, I was the one in charge of those three little brothers,
yeah,
and he was trying to tell me what to do.
right. So with having absentee parents and not really having anybody there to really feel like I was loved, and I think that it comes down to what we use that wonderful definition of caring is feeling loved, really.
And demonstrating love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, like you said, it was love light is a really, really good way to describe that. And getting down to, like what are we using that word for? Like I care when I look at care and I break it down, I just go, okay, there's a number of different versions of this. So if I'm saying I care about you, right? If I care about you, that means I'm concerned with what happens to you as we move into the future, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I say I care about you, but I can say I'm unconcerned, right? Like that the story that you had about your husband and bringing that guy home and him not reacting is,
In the way
well,
that I wanted him to.
it wanted him to, right? And it felt like he didn't care, but that's the truth is he cares, but he trusts you enough to be able to deal with whatever you need to deal with.
Yeah, there was no harm done, so
Right.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it would be no different than if Talia, if something happened and Talia said that guy's, say, looking at my chest or something, right? And I went, yeah, right? It's like I'm not scared that she's going to leave me for this guy,
No, no. And
right?
so, one of the things he said was, "Well, it just means that he sees the same thing I do."
Yeah,
It's a compliment to him. I go, well,
yeah.
wait a minute.
Wait a
What
minute.
about
What is that? But caring doesn't depict that I need to be angry for you. And I think that I had a friend a long time ago who I didn't know this at the time about what he understood as caring to be because I presented myself as I cared about him in a lot of ways, but I missed a really, really big one that in his lingo was caring personified. So when I say that, I know I'm kind of talking in etheric terms, but
did
he
he
was
take a romantic interest in you?
no, he didn't. But when we were talking about caring, like we connected on a level that I'd never connected to another male
Mm.
before at that point. And we were weird and silly together. We did all of these things. But when he got himself into trouble, right? Because he did, not frequently, but he would provoke it, right? To somebody, I wouldn't defend him, right? And to him, that was a lack of caring. When I look at it, and had he been able to talk to me about it at the time, I would have explained. I said, well, I'm not responsible for the crap that you get yourself into, right? And I think that you deserve whatever comes out of you doing that because you're not going to learn if I defend you,
That's repercussions, yes.
right? You're not going to learn anything if I'm sitting there defending you all the time because you're my best bud, right? I said I don't function that way, but he didn't understand that because he comes from more of a hillbilly kind of family, right? And hillbilly kind of family is if you're family, you defend me to the hilt no matter what the heck I do, right? And because he saw me as family in his life, it was what broke us apart eventually. And I didn't understand, not until he died, actually recently, that I was chatting with his sister and she actually described what their family was about. I just went, oh God, now I understand why he left the way he did.
Yeah.
Um,
Unfortunately, so many of these things have, not unfortunately, it's just, everything has an opposite.
right.
Caring can be generous and wonderful and kind and all these things, like I'm describing what's going on with my husband right now.
Hmm.
But at the same time, caring can have what's the word I want? Attached to it, you have to return something in kind. There's a subtext of I'm giving you this, but I expect something in return.
Right.
For caring, even if it's just, I take out the garbage, and if I don't just take it out because it needs to be taken out, and I know it's something that my husband wants me to do and likes it. If I have to go and say I took out the garbage and get the thank you,
Right.
then there's something attached to it.
Right.
And too much of our caring has attachments.
Well, I think that's what was sort of with everything. I mean, if we're talking about caring as being love light, which is as we use it, um, but if we're throwing attachments out, now we're talking about a trade and barter system that, I'm doing this, so therefore you should do that, and that's sort of that's not caring, that's coveting maybe, uh, more along the lines of I need something from you.
And I require you something from you.
Yes. Yeah, I require something from you. And so yeah, that's another form of, I think that as with anything caring, whether it's caring love or, even compassion, uh, or sympathy, that we can attach riders to it as they do through the
Yeah,
Senate, right?
yeah,
Um, right.
yeah. Too many things are in a really good relationship, and a really good love relationship. We're giving because it's our way of demonstrating our own divinity. It's our own way of experiencing who we are, um, without any expectations of anything in return. When we get that something in return, when you say you don't care, but then it comes back that you do,
Right.
uh, that's really nice. That's the extra added bonus, but it shouldn't be what we're actually, what our primary purpose is
Well,
to get. Our primary purpose should never be to get someone else to do something that helps us fill ourselves. We
well,
should already be full.
right. Well, I mean, and you're talking about self-fulfillment, right? And if you come from a place of self-fulfillment, and I can't, for one instant, say that I come from that place all the time. I certainly come from that place often,
More often than we
more often than I don't. I think is I can say that now in my life. I think I can say that I come from that place more often than I don't at this point, but I still do.
Of course.
I still have the little kid that was neglected inside me, that's still responding from that, um, and or reacting from that. And then I can take a look at that and choose to respond better. Self-fulfillment, I mean, if you don't have those riders, right? If I'm doing it just because it fulfills me to do the task, right? Which is one of the reasons that I do the things that I do for my wife, or it's not even for my wife, just that affect my wife, I guess would probably be a better way to put it. Whether it's taking out the garbage, whether it's cleaning the kitty litter box, I'm not doing it for her. I'm doing it because it fulfills me in some way.
Well, but that's not to say that we don't live in a cooperative world. We
Hmm.
are all interconnected, and we all have roles and things that we can that we fill in life. Someone has to take out the garbage, and if it's heavy garbage, the man takes out the garbage. He's simply more equipped to do it. If it's light garbage, she can do it. It, we all have things that we can do that others cannot, and then we cooperate in doing it. That's not to say that but if it's not a requirement that the other person do it for me to love you,
Right.
then it's just a cooperative situation.
Well, and I think that you're hitting a really another idea around caring. Um, depending on the definition of caring, if somebody is required to do it in order for you to feel cared for, the question I would ask is, what are you missing that you think this other person should provide? Would be the question,
Right.
right? And so, but it also, that question can also say, what do I think caring really is in this instance,
Of
right?
course. Yeah.
What is caring to me?
And sometimes caring is not requiring the other person to always take the darn garbage out.
Right, right,
It's, or always having to be the strong one, whether emotionally or physically. Not requiring that other person to do it. Let them give you your gift, their
right.
gift.
Well, and I don't know. I mean, I know that I love feeling cared for, right? We talked about this earlier. So I really want to go into the emotion on it and go, what is it in me if I don't have a care in the world, right? But when you're feeling cared for, you're just feeling loved and accepted. You're feeling part of the group, whether it's a family group, whether it's a couple group. You're feeling a part of or in union with, I guess, would be the best way that I could describe
And,
feeling
and
cared for.
and I think in that situation, if it's a truly caring, loving situation, um, you're also feeling safe,
Right.
safe enough to be vulnerable. And that's a pretty special thing, because out in this world, we are constantly being attacked, for something, and trusting someone enough, oh dear, to allow them to see your vulnerability, and let them care for you is huge. I know for me personally, I'm the strong one. I'm the healthy one. I'm the and to finally admit that, you know, yes, yes, I need help. Thank you
Hmm.
for caring for me, and sitting back and letting him do it, and others take care of me, um, was a supreme act of vulnerability for me.
First off, I want to thank Therese Wilson for coming on the show and discussing this incredible topic about caring with us here. My name is Drew. I'm the Aspiring Master, and I want to thank you for watching the show and hope to see you next time.
Bye.